At this time, I would like to ask Dr. Doris Grinspun to present your CEO report. Thank you so much. Doris?
Thank you so much, Carol. What a privilege to see so many of you yesterday evening, today, I'm sure tonight, and of course tomorrow. And tomorrow we open it to the public, and we know that we have over 350 people. We needed to open further the room to really accommodate. So it is incredible to have an organization, an association, a professional body that has so many members engaged, actively engaged. And this is what the presentation this year is all about. It's about your voice. It's about what you have accomplished. It's about how we support you for that. But ultimately, it's about what we achieve together. This is not working. It's stuck. It's stuck, but you're not stuck. That I can tell you for sure. Okay. So, thank you so much, Sarah. So, the theme for this year's AGM is so fitting, right? And you heard yesterday 3 different political parties, all of them repeating the theme: values, evidence, and courage. And Carol said it yesterday because this is who we are as individuals in the board, the members, who we are as staff, who we are as a collective. Like no other organization, dare to say, in the world, and trust me, I know many. Many have the values. Some have the values and the evidence, but none like ours has the values, the evidence, and the courage. And as I speak about this and I show pictures, you will see yourself in those pictures, because it is because of that actually we can achieve what we can. Otherwise, all the evidence will stay like books in a shelf, like submissions in a desk, etc., whether in policy, whether in best practice guidelines, in whichever activity we take together. So this is what it takes. If someone were to ask me today, what does it take to move a professional body, or what does it take to move any association, I would say values, evidence, and courage. Because without those 3 elements, it ain't going to happen. So when a colleague of mine, Adriana Titley, at Queen's Park, after Queen's Park, said to me, Doris, some of us dream about having 1 announcement. You guys got 4. How do you do that? My answer was values, evidence, and the last one, which is critical, courage. But it's not values, evidence, and courage of 1 person, but of all of us as a collective. If RNAO, Carol included, me included, the entire board included, or past presidents that are sitting at this table, had these 3 elements, but didn't have the tremendous impetus of all of you with values, evidence, and courage, we could not get the results we are getting. And that is what I want you to remember day in and day out when we ask you to answer to an action alert, when we ask you in the midst of your very busy schedules to go and visit with MPPs, when we ask you to tweet and retweet in the middle of the night. I'm looking at Amanda, poor thing, called me the other day to apologize, she was not retweeting. When we ask you to come to meetings with us like Shirley Kennedy, etc., etc., etc. It's because it's the fact that we can mobilize you in the way that we do that actually leaves no space to any politician not to respond. And please understand that. So the board set 4 ends, and these ends you have seen before. And to these ends is that we give life in many of the activities we do. Engaging with RNs, NPs, and nursing students to stimulate membership. And we do that not because we need more money on the bank, because you are going to see that, But we do that because we want to advance the role and image of nurses and nursing as a knowledge profession, and as a knowledge profession in practice and in policy. We do that because we want huge numbers of people to speak out on emerging issues. And we do that because ultimately we want to make a better Ontario, a better Canada, and a better world by influencing healthy public policy. So, of course, we have the numbers. They're huge, right? And we have the numbers for the future and how we are increasing on the new grads. And the number that is missing here, simply because it's as many slides I can put, but it's an impressive one. And we were commenting on that with Daniel yesterday and with some members, is that a few years ago, we used to have 400 students. 400 students. Today, we have over 6,000 students. And that is because they understand the power of belonging to an association, and Carol and I had the privilege to meet with many of them, and that's exactly what we said. But we don't take members lightly. We don't take membership as a given, not only because we are a voluntary association, which we pride with, but because we respect you. And respect means we are out there with you. Carol and I had the privilege to visiting with many, many of you, not only during the fall tour, but throughout the year. We had the privilege of engaging with many, many of you throughout the year. And because we respect you, and because we know that things are tough at work, in some places more than others, we have you well covered. The PLP program of RNAO has proven to be an amazing, amazing program, both in covering you, protecting you, and ensuring that you actually receive the services that are necessary. You have an insurance policy. It's mandatory that if you belong to RNAO, we must defend you. And the legal assistance program, again, is a tremendous program for RNs and Ps with a wide variety of issues, CNO and non-union employers matters, and we have helped many, many of you. And I said to you that it is not because we need your money, that we are here to protect you, to inform you, to work with you, to mobilize you, and yes, to have more members. But it is because we want to make, at the end of the journey, a better place to live, to work, to be. So the finances of RNAO, whether it is on general funds or whether it's on lab, is extremely healthy finances. And when I was putting the slides together a few days ago, you know, I was going to put a well-resourced organization, but that's not the case. Because if it was a well-resourced organization, what good will do to you is well-resourced members that really matter. And that's what RNAO does. And because we are a well-resourced organization, not only in finances and in services of membership, we also prepare you for the heavy-duty lifting that we ask you to do when we ask you to meet with MPPs, when we ask you to speak with the media. We don't just tell you, go and do it. We prepare you. And many of you that are in the Assembly have been privileged of the rigorous and serious training that we do. Many of you are connected with our home office liaison for the executive network people, whether it's in policy, communications, finance, membership, or anything, including BPGs. So yes, we had many submissions, but those submissions alone, even if they were the best, and trust me, they are the best, and my policy team is awesome, but they will do nothing if we couldn't mobilize you to make them live. So we keep you well informed. We keep you well informed through many, many initiatives. We keep you informed through action alerts. We keep you informed through the In the Loop every month. We keep you informed through the journal. And we keep you informed because we need you to speak about absolutely 4 areas. We need you to speak about nursing and what pertains to your own practice. And I will speak about that and give examples in a minute. We need you to speak about health system transformation. We need you to speak about social determinants of health. And we need you to speak about environmental determinants of health. And let me single out, and he probably is not here, Kim Jarvie, when we were in the lockup yesterday, because he was right. He said to me, Doris, we left finances out in the press release. And I said to him, I know, but we already have 3 pages. How much more can we write? But he's right, because we need to speak about finance when we are saying we need pharmacare. We need to speak about finance when we are saying minimum wage should be $15 per hour. We need to speak about finances when we are saying that the environment needs to be cleaner, and everybody wrongly thinks that cleaner means more expensive. So to him, I say, you're right, and we do speak about finance in everything we do, in fact. And the strategic focus that we have on so many topics, and it was difficult for me to choose which one to put there that we had spoken this year. Whether it is on nursing policy with Mind the Gap report, and you heard yesterday Minister Hoskins speaking about Mind the Gap report and using the language and the title of Mind the Gap report, it tells you that our issues are on the table all the time. And Minister Hoskins said it. At the end of the day, what RNAO says is what we do. And it's very telling, because every year when they arrange the procession, they try to find its way. But Minister Hoskins was explaining to Franz Jelena that the reason that he goes after me and the reason I go after the board is because the board is always on the right direction. I'm just pushing faster. And the politicians come after me because they need to do what the board says. And ultimately, really, is what you say. So it's good that the tradition is going to be passing on from minister to minister, from politician to politician, because we'll make our life of arranging the procession, Kerry, a bit easier. So whether it's scope of practice with independent RN prescribing, you heard yesterday, I'm sure you will hear from the Premier more today. Whether it is nurse practitioners with controlled substances and the authority to do that, so we can help people with pain, we can help people with addictions, we can help people that choose MAID now that is law. Or whether it is the issue of compensation or many other issues. On all of them, you will see later on we are delivering. And on health system transformation, the health accord, likely we were the most vocal ones on the health accord, and the need to have federal transfer payments that match the rhetoric. Pharmacare, we were at the forefront and are at the forefront. The Patients First Act, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so many topics. On social determinants of health, again, many topics that we have dealt this year, and many that you will see already enacted, including, right, some of the pilots that we will see on social determinants, on income guarantee, including that you heard the announcement on SIS, safe injection services, including that you are seeing the fetal alcohol syndrome funding, and many that we didn't even include yesterday because we just couldn't include as much. but that RNAO and its members have been at the forefront of it. And there is more to come. There is more to come, and I'm not going to preempt the Premier. But it is because of you. It's your evidence-based political advocacy through Queen's Park Day, Take Your MPP to Work, all the activities that we do, and Queen's Park on the Road. It is through you, through the policy at work, day in and day out, as Paula said yesterday to me, when one of the ministers, Minister Hoskins, walked to her place and she started to talk with him. After that, her boss said, "Do you always talk with politicians?" And I loved her answer. Instead of saying, "Yes, of course I do," her answer was, "And you don't?" Or it is people like Chad Duff that brought us an issue that was of importance on his work on RN replacement. Chad, please put your hand up. I want you to be recognized. And that hopefully he may share with you during Members' Voices, because Members' Voices is for all of you, but an issue that we help resolve. And he gives us the credit, but let me put it back to you in a mirror again, because I give the credit to you, and so does my staff and my board. Because if we didn't hear from you about all these issues happening, they wouldn't be fixed, because we cannot be everywhere, in every workplace, and not even in every policy issue. So it is you that moves policy through knowledge and political action, whether it is through submissions, whether it is through action alerts, whether it is through Queen's Park on the Road, Take Your MPP to Work, or Queen's Park Day. Just look how many of you, and that's the ones that we know formally that are involved. Who knows how many more? We had visits this year with 89 NPPs out of 107. 250 RNAO members engaged formally, trained, prepared through the backgrounders that you receive well in advance, prepared through a full evening of training, ready to go, ready to tackle the issues like a beautiful choir moving policy forward. And it is you that met with all those MPPs all over this province. And it is you that has spoken with the media. Just look how beautiful to see the great majority of the media coverage is related to you, members, not to Carol, not to Vanessa, not to myself, not to any person from the board. We are a tiny minority. It is you that carries the voice of this organization. And the same is with best practice guidelines. Whether it is any of the new ones or others that have been there, the best practice guidelines, basically, you put them to life. Otherwise, again, they will be books in a shelf. And manuscripts, let me tell you about manuscripts, publications. It is not only RNAO staff that is writing publications. And when you see next year, you will see it before next year, but when you see next year copies of the book that Irma Jean Bainok and myself are editing, it's not only RNAO staff that is writing chapters. It is again you, the VPSOs. So we don't just do it again. Like everything RNAO does, whether it's on membership, through PLP and through LAP, and through the ENOs, and through answering and helping you every time that you need. Kerry going to Kingston, the other going to wherever, to help members organize and have high-functioning chapters or interest groups. Or whether it is VPGs, we train you, we prepare you, and we give you the tools that you need to put it in practice. So look how many webinars for free that people participated, how many workshops, how many career expo open to everybody, how many champions. My RNAO team, under the leadership of First Irma Jean, and now Dr. Valerie Gordis and her team are training, and how many in long-term care that you saw yesterday already graduating. 7,500 people engaged in the VPG program formally. Just think how many more informally. And let me tell you, this is only in Ontario. The picture continues. But that is transforming Ontario through knowledge. That is transforming Ontario through the knowledge of nurses. Internationally, the reach continues to expand. In many, many, many countries, what's new, though, is that now is governments, and that's what I predict the future will be. So the government of Chile, as we speak, is signing an agreement with us to become a BPSO host for all their public hospitals in Chile, across the entire country. And like that, we started with Italy, and like that, Ukraine will start, and like that, many others, because every day I hear from my team that others are interested in joining formally as BPSOs. And for that, again, we will come back to you, because we will tell you, we need you. We need you to go and train people. We need you to support people. And those will be the role of the graduated BPSOs. And then we have partnerships, because we don't work alone. On some of the initiatives, it is you that leads and moves the agenda. In others initiatives, we lend our power and our voice to others so they can reach their agendas, if those are agendas that are congruent with RNAO. And then we measure, the same as I showed you before, how many of you have been on the media, or how many of the executives have been on the media, or how many times RNAO has been named on the media. First of all, let me tell you this. It doesn't just happen by chance. Mary Ann and her team, every time that a member wants to speak, or every time that we need a member to speak, is on the phone training that individual. Every time that those individuals speak, and I mean day by day, we measure. That's why we can have the numbers. But the same we do with VPGs. It's not just enough to have BPSOs. We actually measure their impact on outcomes. And for that, I thank Dr. Yao Asu, who leads the inquiry program. And of course, I don't know if Dr. Michelle Ray is here, with Valerie saying yes. She is so proud. 4 months in the job, proud like hell already. But she was one of you too. She was actually the chair of the Mental Health Nurses Interest Group way, way back. But it's that we do, and Dr. Michelle Ray, of course, that develops with her amazing team the guidelines. And then we have technology-enabled tools, whether it is for VPGs or whether it is for other activities like action alerts. We are there with you, moving with times, as times move and as technology moves. And then there is behind the scenes, right? And that is, of course, LC, Louis Charles Lavallée, with his team, and working with every single department on the areas that they need. So whether it is with Daniel on membership, or whether it is with Nancy Campbell on finances, or whether it is before Tim Leonard-Towich, and now Lisa Levin, directors of policy, or whether it is with the IAVPG program, right? Or whether it is with Marianne in communications, with all of them, we absolutely have the behind-the-scenes work. And the behind-the-scenes work is not just to make your work better. That's what you're seeing now. But I could put as many slides also on how to make the work of staff inside RNAO smoother and better. And the behind the scenes helps you communicate faster. And next year you are going to see more of that. Because we don't just, praise ourselves on what we have accomplished, but we are that type of organization that is always looking at the future of how we will make it even better. Because always, as individuals and as organizations, we can make it better. And then we amplify the message, and that is our collective message. Whether it is through the journals that, as you can see, serve a purpose. The journals are not just journals at RNAO. The journals are for giving the message to members and also to politicians. This journal goes to absolutely the 107 MPPs in this province. This journal goes to the media. This journal is on the website. So keep an eye on the three on the bottom, because those three, you can do check marks at this AGM. Whether it's offloading devices at the center that the minister announced yesterday, and yes, let me repeat, this is the first jurisdiction in Canada that will have covered, as weird and as tragic as it sounds, offload devices for people with diabetes and foot ulcers. And I said this to you last year, and I committed that we will deliver, and we did. Because I said, how is it possible that we cover universally amputations, $74,000 per amputation, at great human suffering and at great cost to taxpayers, when an offload device that costs anywhere between $100 to $1,500 was not covered. And when we became more noisy and we took people to Queen's Park, one of the people, I'm not going to say in the bureaucracy, had the audacity, because that's not courage, not to say stupidity, of coming to me and saying to me, don't worry, Doris, don't worry. We have the money in the budget already, right? And whoever that you have in the family that has an issue will be fine. I said, I have nobody in the family with diabetes, let alone with foot ulcers. This is about Ontarians. This is not about you. This is even not about any of you. This is about the public. Because we need to have the courage to answer to good things, so we need to have the courage to celebrate. When a minister announces pharmacare for people 25 and under with no copayment in this province, the first in Canada, yes, we had the courage to stand up, and I applaud you for that. And I kind of was like, this is not ending, the applause, this is not ending, it's too much. Good for you. And when we have members that have the courage to speak, like Lee Chapman has done, about her brother that died homeless with overdose, then we need to put them in the journal, and Lee is there in that picture. And yes, we need to push for CIS, not only because it started at the public health unit of my amazing president and her boss, Dr. David McEwen, but because it's the right thing to do for people. Because addictions, as I said last year, is a disease like any other disease. And because those kids or brothers or sisters or mothers or fathers that die from addictions and overdose could be you, could be me, could be someone in your family. And when we will move, because we will, Shirley Kennedy, the care of people in corrections facility, from being under correction services to health services, is because those people also are people. Even though they have committed sometimes terrible things, they still are human beings. Let me say on that note one thing. First of all, and my staff knows, that I actually have experience with those people. My niece in the US, 8 years in jail was, because she was caught with drugs. Actually, she was not even doing drugs. She was caught with a group of drugs, 8 years. And I shared with my staff that when I went to visit her, I didn't get the treatment that I get here. When I went to visit with my husband, my niece, because we were the only ones that were closer, they checked me everywhere that you can think to know if I was bringing something to her. So when I went to visit one of the corrections facilities here, and I was treated like a queen, I came back to my staff and I shared with my staff. Those people, guys, whether with addictions, whether with mental health, 1 out of 4 of us, whether with whatever, can be one of our own. So on diabetes is not, but on this other issue, I can relate closely to it at the personal level as well. So we will move that, and we will move that because it's important not only to Shirley, and not only to the many Shirleys out there that do work that I frankly could not do. I could not work with some of those individuals that have done terrible crimes, terrible crimes. I wouldn't have the human capacity or the non-judgment capacity to do that. So to those of you, Shirley, that work in that area of nursing practice, kudos. And we amplify our message through social media, and the results, of course, are amazing. Amazing results in social media, amazing results in speaking out, amazing results in values, evidence, and courage that we are producing on all the areas that will help us move to a health system effectiveness. First, timely access to quality care for everybody in Ontario. Through health human resource planning, where we have done amazing, amazing amount of work. And some of that you actually heard the minister yesterday when he said that it was RNAO that pushed and succeeded to have for this province an interprofessional health human resource planning that is now on the works and will continue. And it was RNAO also that put the Mind the Safety Gap report at great price for some, especially for my immediate past president, Vanessa Burkowski, but at great gain for the province and for the people of this province, and likely the people of this country. And it is you and us together, through intellectual capacity, through communications, that actually are moving all those together forward. And it is you that is going to move expanded scope of practice together. And when we look 10, 15 years from now, and we see many RNs that can prescribe, then the story of access to care is over. Because yes, nurse practitioners are fantastic, and they now have expanded scope, and they will have even more expanded scope. They're in long-term care, they will be everywhere. And RNs, 96,000 of them, you can understand how that is happening. So again, social determinants of health, we are moving forward. Environmental determinants, pharmacare, health system restructuring, all of it. And yes, we get awards, and we get many awards. But there is no bigger award than seeing the award of results. Watch this, the awards of results. So if you look at long-term care facilities that use the evidence-based guidelines, they actually beat every single guideline outcome when it's compared to Canada, when it's compared to Ontario, when it's compared to the LINs. Those long-term care organizations that use our guidelines actually are delivering way, way better results. And that is why we're going to take the issue of long-term care funding and the funding of long-term care homes as a key issue in the policy platform for elections. Because it is a disgrace, and every time I commit here, I deliver to you. It is a disgrace that when they improve their outcomes, they get less funding. Because in long-term care, believe it or not, when things are more complex, you get more money. If persons in long-term care are doing better in incontinence, falls, etc., the money is withdrawn. So we will take that issue. And look at the results when you look at other aspects where basically the VPSOs are outperforming everybody else. And look at the results again on the impact of of the nursing homes in absolutely every single VPG that they are tackling, of how they're improving their results. And that is across the board, colleagues. When you look at VPSOs, whether here or in Chile or in Colombia, they do not have anymore pressure ulcers level 3 and 4. They simply do not have them. And the level 1 and 2 are decreasing. And when we look at putting together then the evidence-based knowledge of clinical practice with policy, and with your voice and with your power and with your strength, and with the strength of the public now that is working very closely with us, not only on guidelines but on political mobilization, are we surprised that the minister announces before the report is out, as he said yesterday? The report will be out, and the report will recommend, but I'm going to accept the recommendations that we are going to fund offloading devices. Well, we didn't need a report because there was a guideline that said that we needed to do that. So, but it's not surprising we deliver because we don't stop at reports. We don't stop until we see the results that we need to see. So whether it is on offloading devices, or on safe injection services, or on anything else that we touch, like the topic of independent RN prescribing, we deliver, and we deliver for you big. So on behalf of the board and on behalf of the staff, it is you that we want to recognize for the tremendous, tremendous work that you do in helping give life to the intellectual capacity of my staff, in helping give life to the dreams and visions of my board president, Carol Timmings, past president Vanessa Burkowski, past president Rhonda Sidman Carlson, and whoever else that is in the audience as past presidents. But at the end of the day, it is you that gives life to this association. So to you, we say thank you. Thank you, members, for another year of success for RNAO. Thank you. To you. Tap your shoulder. To you. Tap your shoulder. It's to you, guys. Thank you. I want to take 1 minute, Madam President, very briefly, to call on my colleague Irma Jean Bainok. Where is Irma Jean? You need to run, darling. Because Irma Jean is retiring in June. By then we need to have the book ready. And I want to make sure that on behalf of everybody, and you need to give the one to Carol. The one. No, the one. Carol. Irma Jean, if you can come. Yes, darling. You, for a brief standing ovation to my friend and colleague. And it matches her outfit. She's asking, what is this for? In anticipation of the book that we are doing. Why not to celebrate? This is for Irma Jean all the years, 17 years at RNAO, 10 years leading the VPG program. This is for vision, for doing, for delivering. She's saying to me she's glad she asked.
Well, Doris, before you sit down, on behalf of the board, all of those gathered here today, and the remainder of the 41,000 plus members who couldn't be with us today, let us congratulate you on just another incredible year of, I would say, magnificent milestones. I can't find the word, like stellar accomplishments, but really taking the influence, the voice, to actually impact policy that's going to touch the lives of hundreds of thousands of Ontarians. So thank you, Doris, on behalf of all of us here today.